Kurt, go.
All right. So one of the side conversations that we've had by our little move here was talking about testing. Okay. What can producers be doing testing wise to help give them a data that could help their operation? Okay. So I'll just leave that open. Go for it.
And it's okay if I ruin everybody's life here a little bit.
I'll breathe in and breathe out.
As long as it's applicable.
Okay,
How do we
it
make
will be. I have become increasingly disillusioned with standard soil testing. So don't mishear me here. I'm not saying soil. I'm gonna caveat this or nuance this a little bit. But I feel like the reason so often that farmers soil test, if you really get into the why, right, it's because of our obsession with we wouldn't want to mine our soils. First of all, let's just address that sort of BS claim, okay? That logic has
Ripped it.
ripped it off.
has to be applied to the actual mines. That analogy, we're mining our soil. Where in the hell are you getting that phos from? From an actual phosphorus mines. Guys, you can Google this, okay? We only have between 30 and 300 years left of phosphorus that we have access to in the world. And by the way, that assumes that we figure all this crap out with Russia, because that's the lion's share of the mine. So most of our phos is mined here in the United States. So it's probably on the lower end of that. Phosphorus is not a renewable resource. Period. End of story. Okay. So if you're worried about mining your soil, let's talk about mining the actual flipping mines, because that is a problem. All right. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
We've got to apply the same logic. So we got to start being a heck of a lot more efficient. So for me, it comes back to this idea of removal rates. And when you look at the science of removal rates and how the universities have done this, it really kind of frustrates me, because it's an average, right? It's the average of all these years of all this data, yada, yada, yada. I don't give two hoots about averages, because let's just say you have a guy who is, they look at whether it's University of Minnesota, Ohio State, whoever it is, and they say, here's our removal rate of phosphorus, right? Whatever that may be. Well, that's a range. It's not like an exact number, right? It's derived from pulling a lot of samples over the years. And if you have a guy who actually went and pulled his removal rate sample, which you can do, and this is one of the, spoiler alert, this is what everybody should be doing, is they should be testing their own grain for nutrient removal. It's an $18 test at Waters Ag Labs in Kentucky, okay? It's not expensive. So for $18, you can test and see what are you actually removing from your field on your farm. So let's just say a guy has one standard deviation below the average, or the removal rate that everybody uses. Guys, that's real dollars. What if you are only putting out the amount that you're actually removing? So even with a stupid obsession with removal rates, which that in and of itself is annoying, but let's just say you really wanted to cover removal rates. Cover your removal rate or yours, but don't use the stupid average, because some guys are way over applying for that, and that makes this problem of the mines running out even worse. On the flip side, some guys are under applying potentially. You may have a hybrid, a specific genetic on a specific soil type that's just really pulling hard.
Okay.
Well, then make sure you're addressing that, but stop taking this stupid Broadshot approach that we're taking. And again, it's an $18 test. Go pull the test on every field that you do, right? You're talking a few cents an acre for most guys, depending on the size of the field. And analyze that grain and see what you're actually removing. That to me is one of the biggest and most important things we could be doing. And when I say a standard soil test, why I'm disillusioned with this is because all those recommendations are, this based on this Broadshot removal rate deal. Forget about all that, because that is most likely not plant available anyway. Pull something like Next Level Ag Labs does their the H3A test.
Yep.
Midwest Labs can do the Haney test. Right, we need to be looking at what's actually plant available in our soil, and we need to be looking at what are we pulling off the field. What are we actually pulling off the field? Those are the two tests that everybody needs to be running. Well, and then water testing. Can I keep going? Are we good?
You keep going, and then I got a list of questions. Okay, you keep going.
Josh,
keep rolling.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Josh.
All right. So hence I grabbed a piece of pen and paper.
Okay. Yep.
I'm the practice dummy here.
Okay.
So if we're going to talk about a farm, how to apply it on a farm, we're picking on me.
Okay.
Yep.
In this whole setting.
Yep.
Because now I'm like, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
How do I go about pulling a grain test? Now I have a pretty good idea.
Mm-hmm.
You take a sample out of your combine.
Yep.
And you put it in a bag.
Send it off to Waters Ag Lab. Now the catch here is they do need to know. They'll do the calculations for you, which is crazy.
Okay.
You don't have to. You don't have to have this part. We can do the math ourselves, right? Or I can help you put it in a spreadsheet, not a big deal. But they are actually so used to doing this that you can send it to them, and if you send them the yield, beans at 77 bushels an acre, it will tell you exactly what you've pulled off. Like they will do the math for you on this test.
Wow.
It's crazy. So
And that was Waters
Ag Lab.
Okay.
In I think it's in Kentucky and Georgia. They got a couple different sites, but I use them for our water sampling. I use them for our now grain sampling. Like I like them a lot. Or they even do our guaranteed analysis for our fertilizer, like with our pixie dust and stuff. Like I use them for everything.
Well, and I know I've talked to other labs that's done something similar for me too. It's like, but if you're in the Kentucky area, right here in Illinois,
and again, Midwest can do it too. You just what you do is here. This is a good question. How do we do this if we don't want to go to Waters?
Yes,
you run it as a standard tissue sample. It is a plant tissue. It's just not the leaves. Leaves. Yeah. It's the grain that we're running, but it is still plant tissue. So you run a typical nutrient analysis.
Or I guess you can just pull it from the combine. I'm thinking as like I would do it at the end of my last check and just see where it's at. You know, as an agronomist. Yeah. So.
And me as a farmer, I'm just going to reach in with my can.
Yep.
My can and run to the elevator, see if it's dry.
Yep.
And then take the leftover can and send it off to a lab. Now, okay, here's the other question that came to my mind. What part of the field do I pull it in? Because in my neck of the woods, we got pretty variable soils. Not compared to some guys I know. Okay, like yesterday, we're standing on top of a mountain, and the dude farms from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain. Same mountain, it's just a hill. But it's like, oh my gosh, I know way down there is way different than up here. So you could probably get as technical as a guy wants to get. It's like you could almost grid sample with grain.
You could.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Oh my head.
I literally.
Well, since this is me spending your money, I'd say go for it because I'd love the data. I want to play with it and learn, right? But I get it.
My brain goes to, okay, I'm just going to start something basic here because I'm literally taking notes. I didn't even know what you said was a thing until just a little bit ago. So, this isn't like, all right, guys, do this. This is me. I'm writing down on the back of your daughter's birthday invite what I'm going to do. So I'm going to just pull a grain sample in my brain. Okay, I want a starting point. Average point in the field, fairly good representation of my soil. And then now my nerd self goes to, all right, I'm going to pull the really good spot, and I'm going to pull the terrible spot in the field. 3. Kind of like the Haneys.
Exactly.
We talk about where do we pull Haneys. Johnny's like, out of 100 grids, we're going to go pull 5?
5. 5
Haneys. I'm 2.5 grids, acre grids to learn a field, and then, all right, I'm going to pull a Haney from the selected locations because they cost more.
Yeah, of course they do.
That's why.
The good news is this one's cheap.
Yeah.
This one's cheap.
So, and then, okay, I get this information back. What the crap do I do with it? Because we can't all call Kurt now because that's not scalable.
Well, true. But it literally will show you on the report, like, here's the removal. Like, here's how many pounds of phos you removed in this grain sample. And assuming it's representative, like you just said, like, multiply this by the number of acres. And if the standard removal rate says, you need, 50 pounds of phos, but the removal says you pulled 23 pounds of phos, stop at 23.
Yep.
We just saved you 27 pounds of phos for an $18 test. And that to me is the real world application here is however much you want to spend per acre, right? So figure it out if it's $18 and hey, I want to go pull every, don't go do every acre, obviously that makes it expensive. But I would look at it by you, like you said, best spot, worst spot, definitely would want to pay attention to variety. And guys, this is the part that's going to make people crazy, but for the love of God, please do it. Keep track of this. Like build your own internal database, right? Yeah. Like figure out if, hey, this number from this seed company always pulls more. Like, and when you look at your own data and it's hyper localized and you build that database, you will know moving forward a pretty good idea. Hey, we only have to do this for a couple of years, and we start to see, man, this one pulls a lot of potassium. This one doesn't pull any potassium. But then you can make your adjustments based on variety or spots in the field or whatever. But keep track of it. Build an internal database.
And don't sell it for cheap.
And don't, for the love of God. Yes.
That would be giving some power back to the farmers. But Guys, if you've liked the information that you've seen so far, go ahead and check out the full-length podcast on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe there. It's also on all the major podcast platforms. We're constantly dropping info and more content on all the social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, etc. Check it out for a lot more content.